Hey everyone, finished watching the next couple of Reversion episodes. First up, The Trouble with Shellshock. This episode starts off with Squat spying on the Rangers playing basketball. There's a little bio that pops up for Squat that claims he has negative intelligence. It also claims he has considerable strength and moderate speed. I don't know exactly how they're measuring these things. Rita is sleeping and little Z's float around her. I can't help but associate Rita and Z's with Zed. Was this foreshadowing or a coincidence? The Z's aren't necessarily Zed's Z's. Babu shows Squat a monster he made of clay in secret. Squat exclaims, "A turtle?" And little question marks pop up all over. I'm not really sure why Squat is shocked, but considering what a weird little guy he is, I never thought much of it. After Squat and Babu make their new monster, named Shellshock, he gets his own bio. It swaps out speed for armor, which is apparently his strongest attribute. Strength is moderate and intelligence is low. I've always liked the scenes of Squat and Babu here. They're like happy little kids. I wish more seasons had villains like them. Abba Ranger's main villains, Vofa and Mikola, kinda reminded me of them. They're both goofy and just seem like they want to have fun. Squat and Babu send down putties. Up on the moon, they watch and cheer. The Rangers halt their basketball game, and I noticed something I never noticed before. The ball has black tape covering a logo. How considerate of them! A small moving logo is way harder to blur than more static ones in 2010. This makes it clear to me that all the previous times logos were visible, they were probably approved and allowed. The putties retreat just as a hot dog cart rolls by. Tommy leaves and Bulk and Skull pop in. This is one of the rare moments Bulk and Skull behave like actual bullies and pick a fight. The Rangers easily evade them and they crash into the hot dog cart, spilling food all over themselves. The guy who owns the cart puts Bulk and Skull to work as punishment for spilling his food. A text effect pops up, "Epic fail." Oddly, it's placed in the background. So when the hot dog guy or Skull move in front of it in the foreground, it's in front of the effect. This must have taken a lot more work than usual. Shellshock is sent down and zaps Trini with its Go beam. This causes her to run uncontrollably. Billy, Zach, and Kimberly get zapped with a Stop beam. Jason narrowly escapes and Zordon teleports them to the command center. Up on the moon, Goldar has quite a different voice than usual.
I don't believe it! No! No!
Season 1 of Mighty Morphin has a lot of issues like this, especially early on. Goldar's voice probably wasn't fully developed at the point this episode was recorded. At the command center, Zordon tells Jason that he sent Trini to find the Deander flowers. They're magic and only grow in one place, the top of a mountain. With them, they can restore the Rangers to normal. Rita makes Shellshock grow, and he makes a joke about the Ninja Turtles. Like the Batman reference a few episodes ago, was this supposed to imply the Ninja Turtles exist in their universe? Later on, it does turn out that they do, 4 or 5 years later. We see Tommy practicing with a bow staff at the juice bar, and the little green effects surround his staff. There's another weird moment here, and it's another trend of early Mighty Morphin random Jew-Ranger stuff that has no relevance to what's going on over here getting forced in. In Jew-Ranger, the Dinozords are alive and talk to the Rangers sometimes. Boy, the Yellow Ranger's Zord talks to him while he's going up the mountain. Over here, Zordon tells Trini that he sent the saber-toothed tiger Zord to help. It appears as a transparent image over the mountain. Immediately after, Trini finds the flowers. She doesn't go right up and pick them, she calls to the power of her Zord, and the flowers float and then appear in her hand. Okay, cool, I guess? Maybe she just wanted the Zord to feel useful. Does the Zord have, like, telekinesis or something? Jason calls Tommy to help with his Dragon Zord. Shellshock freezes them with his Stop beam, but luckily Trini makes it with the flowers. The rest of the team return to normal and watch over the viewing globe, Jason and Tommy defeating the monster. Up on the moon, Rita yells at Babu and Squat for their monster losing. This made me wonder as a kid, was there a limitation on Finster's clay or Monstermatic? Is that why they'd only send down 1 or 2 monsters at a time? Next, we get an unusual segment, Bulk and Skull's Greatest Hits. A couple sequences of Bulk and Skull doing stuff plays. Interestingly, there was a VHS tape of Bulk and Skull's somewhat greatest hits called The Good, the Bad, and the Stupid. Back in the actual show, the Rangers return to playing basketball. Billy and Trini high-five, and a background graphic pops up with a word balloon saying high-five. And suddenly I realized Billy and Trini were the prominent characters in the episode titled High Five. Was this a reference to that? I love this episode. It wasn't one I saw much when I was really little. I mostly saw it years later when I was getting back into the series and looking up old episodes online or getting the DVDs. The Reversion this time has some fascinating effects, but nothing too obtrusive or needed. I think this is the first episode to write Tommy out of the action. This would go on to be a common thing to the point Tommy being forgetful became a character trait. Okay, next up, Itsy Bitsy Spider. This episode starts off with heavy high school comedy influence, which leads into the Rangers going out to collect insects for a science class. Trini is also leading a petition to save a local statue. Rita's latest plan is to steal the statue and hide a new monster inside a replica. Also, moths that dispense sleeping powder, because why not, I guess. Zach is teaching a group of kids hip-hop keto, his own personalized martial art. Zach steps away for a minute and the moths put his class to sleep. He contacts Zordon, who warns him about the moths. Zach runs from approaching moths and remembers something Trini told him earlier about the statue. It's supposed to protect people from bad bugs. He goes to it and sees something off with it. It's supposed to have flowers in its hair, but instead has snakes. I always wondered why Rita or Finster or whoever decided on adding something to the replica to indicate it was different. Maybe Finster wanted to add his own personal touch to it. Zach morphs and fires at the statue, revealing the spider monster inside. Zordon contacts the rest of the team and they come to help Zach. Rita makes the monster grow and the Rangers summon the Megazord. Most of this episode feels like it's from extremely early Season 1. Tommy is at the beginning, but disappears until now. Zordon calls Tommy to help the others. This is well before he had to conserve his powers, so I don't know why he was holding back something Jew-Ranger footage. The Rangers use the Dragon Zord fighting mode to defeat the spider monster. Surprisingly, the whole drill impalation through the monster is kept with some flashes over it. In this case, Disney actually allowed more than Fox Kids. I had this episode recorded from a power playback marathon, and most of the impaling with the drill was cut. Zach goes back to check on his class, and they're all fine. Back at school, Trini informs the team that the statue reappeared after the monster was defeated, and her petition convinced the city to keep the statue. Zach declares that the whole experience helped him overcome his fear of bugs. Tommy stealthily places a toy spider on his shoulder, which freaks out Zach when he sees it. In the Reversion series, the end credits play over the end of the episode. This hasn't been that big of an issue, and it's understandable given the runtime requirements. Also, it was probably a holdover from RPM. Here, though, it's a bit of an issue because the credits obscure Tommy putting the spider on Zach's shoulder. This is a decent representation of early Mighty Morphin. It's got the whole team, Bulk and Skull, Zordon and Alpha, Rita, and a monster that ties in with whatever the kids are up to. The only missing element is Ernie and the juice bar. The reversion effects this time are unremarkable. The only one I really like is the Dragon Zord walking through and breaking his name. We're more than halfway through the Reversion series, and unfortunately there won't be an actual finale. To be fair, even if they reversioned the entire series of Mighty Morphin, it would still end on a cliffhanger. For the most part, I like these episodes fine. Again, like I said a few episodes ago, I wouldn't choose to watch these over the original for the most part. There's a few episodes where I definitely would not choose to watch them over the originals, but as a, experimental thing and glorified reruns, they're kind of interesting, I guess. They've got enough, new content to actually warrant talking about, and I guess it could be considered its own thing because it's so oddly different. There's so many little elements added that it does make it stand out from the original show, but yeah, it's basically just Mighty Morphin with sparkles, like Linkara said once. So that's it for this one. Hope you enjoyed it. So yeah.
This is Jack.
STD emergency!